He says, why are you stealing? He goes, not stealing. He says, I don't use force, and I don't use any kind of unnecessary roughness or anything like that. What I get, people give to me. Isn't that true about the criminal justice system? Isn't that true about the bankers, the government? They don't come out and use strong-arm tactics. They just have a little sham going, don't they? And the problem is people don't understand what's going on, but basically nobody's hit over the head to participate. They just all give it away to the people who are running the system. It's total voluntary consent. Okay? Now, needless to say, our con gets conned himself. You expect that to happen. And by the time the story is over, he's been so well conned, he has nothing left in the safe deposit box, nothing left in his bank account at home, and even all of his friends are gone. A tip. Somebody left him seed money. A tip. That's all he's got. Then his daughter disappears, and a year later, she happens across our hero. And our hero now is working, actually serving pretty much, as a menial worker in a company. Pardon? Carpet sales. And daughter comes up to him and goes, gee, Dad, aren't you going to do anything to get back at those guys who stole from you? And he says, I gave them that money. Look, you can't be double-minded. If you didn't steal from them, you conned them, it was their fault. And then you got conned and lost everything. Don't flip it around backwards. You gave them back the money. Now, what have we been saying here about where do you get your remedy? Get your remedy when you divest yourself of all your liability. What happened to our hero in Mastic Man? He got divested of all of the liability that he conned everybody else out of. And his life was now perfect because he was serving, and he was no longer in the warfare of trying to con liability instruments out of anybody else. Okay? So the whole concept is that everybody's volunteering, nobody's being stolen from on what's going down there. Now, when I said what comes first, the chicken or the egg, what I'm saying is we have to authorize the public side, not only in the contract, we also have to authorize the bill. We have to prove everything they're doing. And until we do that, there is not a pre-existing debt. And if there isn't a pre-existing debt, you can give them bills of exchange until they're coming out of everybody's eyelids, and they're not accomplishing anything because the consideration in the bill of exchange is only as good as to the mirror of what created it, and that's the debt. And so a lot of these people are going around like with conditional acceptances, which is like, hello, I got a guy who's been doing conditional acceptances, and he claims it isn't working because the IRS has got liens on real estate. It's got alleged assessments. Now, you go to Richard Standring and you go to Ben Hulk and you go to all these people and say, what does it take to get a lien? What does it take to get a notice of levy? What does it take to get an assessment? And they will tell you, we've been studying, and we've never seen one yet. We've seen imposters We've seen things that purport to be liens, purport to be assessments, purport to be levies, but all they are is counterfeit. Why are they counterfeit? You haven't authorized them. Okay? Now, because you haven't authorized them, are you in honor or dishonor? Dishonor. Okay? Now, what is the IRS remedy as long as you remain in dishonor? And when they come after you, what are they trying to get you to do? Be honorable. And in order to get you to be honorable, what actions are they going to take against you to put you in honor? They're going to seize all your liabilities from you. Do you understand what these people are doing? Because you're dishonorable. They're taking your garnished wages. They're taking your registered land. They're taking your registered checkbook account. And the more they take, the more they're putting you into honor. Even when you are dishonorable to those people, they push you toward honor, but you don't understand what they're doing. Now, in order to get into honor, all you've got to do is authorize what it is that you've been resisting so that they can move ahead with your assent and consent to let you discharge the liability. Everything they're doing is moving you toward honor. You know, I watch people leave the theater with matchstick. And they're going, this guy had hundreds of thousands of dollars and he ends up with nothing. He's selling carpet for crying out loud. And what happens? He was a loner up till then. He goes home and he's got this wonderful wife. And he's got this baby on the way and he's got this future. He's living now. Whereas up till then he had all these tics, all these diseases. He was a nervous wreck. He was a lunatic, and all he was doing was taking con stuff away from things people were giving him. If that matchstick man isn't a perfect mirror of what's happening, and here his friends who conned him or his enemies that stole from him thought they were doing him in. And actually they brought him alive and gave him his remedy. That's what's going on here. John.
Yes. Isn't that where the rich man questioned Christ and said, what must I do to enter heaven?
There you go.
And
Get rid of your liabilities,
and
brother.
Christ said, give up all your riches.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay? We're past time tonight. Next week, I want to go into the role of what the public notary is in our administrative process. There was a couple of people that were on the phone to me, and their problem was the following. I go down and ask a public notary to sign a certificate of protest or a notice of dishonor, and they tell me they don't have to do that, and they won't do it. Question, do they have to do that, and why, and how can I convince them? And that happens to be one of the main issues that we're looking at in terms of getting our remedy. So we had a discussion, and I think the way that I discussed this with these other people will shed some light on how the public notary is involved in giving your remedy. So we'll take that up next week, God willing. Everybody have a good week.
One thing, Jack, before you go. I've never had any trouble with the notaries.
Good. I know. But we'll show you logically why.